Dear children, good morning. Today I am going to teach you sixth lesson in your English textbook entitled This is Jody's Fawn. You know what is fawn? Fawn is actually male baby deer. Okay, let us go to the lesson straightly. In your book, English book, often, instead of rushing to the doctor to treat a small cut or burn, we find quick and effective cures using things available at home. So, modern world says that we need not rush for every simple problem, physical problem, to the doctor. We should know some home remedies. Can you think of some such home remedies for a cut on your knee or a burn on your arm or a bee sting? Of course, if our grandparents are at home, they used to say so many home remedies. In this story, Jody's father has been bitten by a rattlesnake. Jody was the young boy. His father was bitten by a rattlesnake. He quickly kills a doe. DOE is actually female deer. It's a mother of fawn here. Killed the deer, female deer, and uses its heart and liver to draw out the poison. It is a remedy Jody's father knew, so they killed a deer and took its heart and liver for the poison went inside his body. Jody wonders what will happen to the little fawn left without a mother. Here, the boy is very much concerned about fawn's condition. That is, a little baby deer, male deer, he was very much caring about that. That is the lesson what the boy Jody is going to do to save the life of a baby deer. Come on. Chapter 1. Jody allowed his thoughts to drift back to the fawn. Drift back to means go back to. He could not keep it out of his mind. He was always thinking about the baby deer because its mother was killed by his father for getting remedy from snake bite. He had held it in his dreams in his arms. He slipped from the table and went to his father's bedside. Penny, his father's name, actually, father Penny Baxter was lying in the bed. Penny lay at rest. His eyes were open and clear, but the pupils were still dark and dilated. Dilated means enlarged. Jody said, "Dad, how are you feeling, Pa?" "Just fine, son. Old death has gone thieving elsewhere." "But wasn't it a close shave?" That means that death, maybe the god of death, has gone somewhere else to take somebody's life. Because of that, Jody's father had a narrow escape from the death. That is what he said. Wasn't it a close shave means it is a narrow escape. hairline escape, in another word. Yes, I agree. When he said, father said, I am proud of you, boy, the way you kept your head and did what was needed. You helped me a lot. That means Jody helped his father a lot. So father was very much proud about his son. Pa, yes son, Pa, do you recollect the doe on the fawn? Do you remember the deer, mother deer you killed? The baby deer was wandering there without mother, without food. Yes, I can never forget them. The poor doe saved my life. That is certain. That is sure. Pa, the fawn may be out there yet in the forest. It might be hungry. As it is very small, very scared also, the fawn lost its mother. It might be hungry without food. Yes, you are right, my son, I suppose so. Pa, I am a big boy now and don't need to drink milk. Why don't I go and see if I can find the fawn? Let me go to forest, the same place where you were bitten by the snake and where we killed the mother deer. Let me go there and find out that baby deer. What? Going alone and bring it here? Bring the fawn here? Yes, and raise it. Penny lay quiet, staring at the ceiling. Boy, you have got me hemmed in. What do you mean by hemmed in? Making somebody in a situation where the person cannot say no. He cannot say no. Okay, my son, you can go to forest, try to find out the baby deer and bring it here. It won't take much to raise it. To bring up the small baby deer, we need not do much expense. We need not spend a lot of money. That's what Jody wants to say. Pa, it will soon start eating leaves and acorns. Of course, acorns means a small brown nuts. We need not spend a lot of money to bring up the small baby deer. Yes, you are smarter than boys of your age. Father is appreciating his son. We took its mother and it was not to blame. Yes, we took its mother. We killed fawn's mother for medicinal purpose. So, we must take care of the baby. Surely it seems ungrateful to leave it to starve. Son, I can't say no to you. I never thought I would live to see another day. Can I ride back with Millville, your friend, and see if I can find it? Yes, tell your ma I said you can go. So father gave permission to go to forest with his friend Millville. He sidled back, that is, walked back quietly and sat down near the table. His mother was pouring coffee for everyone. Mother was preparing coffee. He said, Ma, Pa says I can go bring back the fawn, the baby deer. Father gave me permission. Mother got shocked. She held the coffee pot in mid-air because of sudden shock. What? Fawn? Yes, the fawn belonging to the doe which we killed. We used the doe's liver to draw out the poison and saved my father. Oh, she gasped. Okay, well, for pity's sake. Pa says it would be ungrateful, unthankful to leave the baby to starve. As we killed its mother, we are responsible to take care of the baby deer. Doc Wilson, doctor who came to treat the father of Jody, said, "Ah, yes, that's right, madam. Nothing in the world comes quite free. The boy is right and his father, daddy, is also right." Millville said he can ride back with me. So Millville was ready to take him because he came by a horse. He can ride back with me. I will help him to take the forest, find out the fawn. She set down the pot helplessly. "Well, if you will give it your milk, we have got nothing else to feed it." Millville said, "Come on, boy, we have got to get riding. Come, I will take you by my horse." Ma Baxter, that is mother, asked anxiously, "You will not be gone long?" With interest, with curiosity, with care, mother asked, "Jody, don't go very long." Jody replied, "Oh, don't worry, Ma, I will be back before dinner for sure." Millville mounted his horse and pulled Jody up behind him. He said to Millville, "Do you think the fawn is still there? Will you help me find him?" "Yes, we will find him if he is alive." "How do you know it is a he?" "How do you know that is a he?" "It may be sometime female baby, no?" "No, the spots were all in a line. On a doe fawn passes, the spots are every which way, that is in different direction. It is actually male. Fawn is here, male." Chapter 2, Jody gave himself over to thoughts of the fawn. They passed the abandoned clearing. He said, "Cut to the north, Millville." He was saying the direction where father was bitten by rattlesnake. "It was up here that Pa got bitten by the snake and killed the doe, mother deer, and I saw the fawn." Suddenly, Jody was unwilling to have Millville with him. Jody was thinking, it was not good to have father's friend Millville with him. So, if the fawn was dead or could not be found, he could not have his disappointment seen. So, he definitely would be disappointed if he could not find the fawn. So, his father's friend should not look at him. And if the fawn was there, the meeting would be so lovely, so emotional, and so secret that he could not endure to share it. He said, Jody said, "It's not far now. It's not a very long distance now, but the scrub is very thick for a horse. It's very difficult to ride on a horseback from hereafter, as the path will be very, very thorny. Thorny bushes are there. I can make it on foot." "Millville, sir, I will go by walk. Please, you can go." "Oh, Jody, but I am afraid to leave you, boy. Suppose you got lost or got bitten by a snake too. Suppose you are also bitten by the snake, means who will help you?" No, Mr. Millville. I will take care. It might take me a long time to find the fawn. If he is wandering here and there, you will be getting late. So, you can go. Leave me off right here. Please leave me here. I will search and I will find out." "Okay, all right, but you take it easy now. You know, north here and east. Do you know the directions here? As you have already visited. There and there, that tall pine makes a bearing. So, acts as a compass. That tall pine tree, acts as a compass. That's what his bearing means. Acts as a compass and helps to identify the directions." So long, Millville, I am obliged." He waited for the sound of the hoofs to end. So Millville went off. Then cut to the right. The scrub was still. Only his own crackling of twigs sounded across the silence. He wondered for an instant if he had mistaken his direction. He had a doubt. Then a buzzard rose. Buzzard means a large bird like a vulture rose in front of him and flapped onto the air. He came into the clearing under the oak trees. Buzzards, the large-size vulture, sat in a circle. Many vultures, eagles, were sitting in a circle around the carcass of the doe. Yes, the dead body of mother deer was still there. All the eagles were sitting, vultures were sitting around the body and eating. It's a very horrible scene. They turned their heads on their long scrawny necks. Just they are turning and looking at Jody. He threw his bow at them and they flew into an adjacent tree. He was just throwing a stick with him and immediately all the vultures flew away. The sand showed large cat prints, but the big cats killed fresh, and they had left the door to the carrion birds. The cats also, wild cats also ate some flesh. He parted the grass at the place where he had seen the fawn. It did not seem possible that it was only yesterday. The fawn was not there. He circled the clearing. There was no sound, no sign. He was unable to find out the fawn there. The buzzards, the vultures, clacked their wings. That means flapped their wings, impatient to return to their business, eating business. He returned to the spot where the fawn had emerged and dropped on all fours, studying the sand for the small hoof prints. The night's rain had washed away all tracks except those of cat and buzzards. Chapter 3. Movement directly in front of him startled him so that he tumbled backward. The fawn lifted its face to his. It turned its head with a wide, wandering motion and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes. It was looking at him. He was luckily found out the fawn. It was slowly moving and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes, maybe tears. It was quivering. Quivering means shaking slightly. It made no effort to rise or run. Jody could not trust himself to move. He was very happy in a way. He whispered, "It is me." He started speaking to fawn. "Hey, don't be afraid. It's me. I came here to save you." The fawn lifted its nose, scenting him. He reached out one hand and laid it on the soft neck of the deer. Fawn, the touch made him delirious. Delirious means extremely excited, happy. It needed mother's love, affection there. So Jody was ready to show motherly affection. He moved forward on all fours until he was close beside it. He put his arms around its body. A light convulsion passed over. Of course, when he put his arms around its body, when Jody put his arms, there was a slight shivering passed over the body of the baby deer. It did not stir. He stroked its side as gently as though the fawn were a china deer. You know, china deer, deer made up of china clay. So he was touching the fawn very softly. He might break it. Its skin was very soft, very smooth. As baby, the skin was very, very soft and shiny. It was sleek, smooth and shining. Means and clean and had a sweet scent of grass. He rose slowly and lifted the fawn from the ground. Its legs hung limply. They were surprisingly long. Of course, the legs are very long, and he had to hoist the fawn as high as possible under his arm. He was pulled up higher in order to carry the baby deer. He was afraid that it might kick and bleed at sight and smell of its mother. He skirted the clearing and pushed his way into the thicket. It was difficult to fight through the thicket with his burden. He was carrying the fawn and walking among the thorny bushes thicket, very, very difficult for him. The fawn's legs caught in the bushes and he could not lift his own with freedom. It was very difficult for him to walk. He was struggling, but he wanted to help the baby deer. He tried to shield its face from prickling vines. So there are so many creepers and vines with the thorns that may tear the body, soft body of the deer. But he was taking very, very care to protect its face. Its head bobbed with his stride. He was walking, his heart thumped with the marvel of its acceptance of him. He was very happy. The animal, the baby deer, was very, very cooperative, very much cooperative. He reached the trail and walked as fast as he could until he came to the intersection of the road home. He stopped to rest and set the fawn down on its dangling legs. It wavered on them. It looked at him and bleated. It was making, bleated means a sound made by the baby fawn. He said, enchanted, "Don't worry, my baby, I will carry you after I get my breath." He was breathing heavily as he was walking with a heavy burden. He remembered his father saying that a fawn would follow if it had first been carried. He started away slowly. The fawn stared after him. He came back to it and stroked it and walked away again. It took a few wobbling steps toward him. Of course, it was very difficult for the baby to walk, but it was walking, trying to walk, and cried piteously. It was willing to follow him. It belonged to him. It was his own. He was light-headed with his joy. So it was in a way very difficult to walk, but the fawn was belonging to Jody. He wanted to fondle it, to run and romp with it. He wanted to play. He wanted to fondle the baby, to call to it to come to him. He dared not alarm it. Romp, R-O-M-P, romp means play. He dared not alarm it. Alarm means frighten. He was not ready to frighten the baby fawn. He picked it up and carried it in front of him over his two arms. He was carrying it. It seemed to him that he walked without effort. His arms began to ache. Of course, it was very difficult for him to carry for a long time. His hands are aching. He felt pain and he was forced to stop again. When he walked on, the fawn followed him at once. He allowed it to walk a little distance, then picked it up again. The distance home was nothing. Sometime he was carrying, sometime he was making the baby deer to walk, followed him. He could have walked all day and into the night, carrying it and watching it follow. He was wet with sweat. He was sweating a lot, but a light breeze blew through the June morning, cooling him. The sky was as clear as spring water in a blue china cup. It's a very beautiful description. The sky was as clear as spring water. He came to the clearing. It was fresh and green after the night's rain. He fumbled with the latch and was finally obliged to set down the fawn to manage it. Then he had an idea. He would walk into the house. into Penny's bedroom, father's bedroom, with the fawn walking behind him, but at the steps the fawn balked and refused to climb them. Balked means was unwilling to do the work. It was unwilling to climb at the steps. He picked it up again and went to his father Penny. Penny lay with closed eyes. Jody called, "Daddy, Pa, look, I have brought the baby deer." Penny turned his head. Jody stood beside him. The fawn clutched hard against him. It seemed to Penny that the boy's eyes were as bright as the fawn's. He said, "I am glad you found him." Father is also very happy that his son is able to find out the baby deer. Jody then went to the kitchen. The fawn wobbled after him. A pan of morning's milk stood in the kitchen safe. The cream had risen on it. He saw milk was ready. He skimmed the cream into a jug. He poured milk into a small bowl. He held it out to the fawn. It buttered it suddenly. Smelling the milk, he saved it precariously from spilling over the floor. It could make nothing of the milk in the gourd. It was not ready to drink from the cup. Luckily, it was not spilling. He dipped his fingers in the milk. So, Jody got an idea. He dipped his fingers in the milk and thrust them into the fawn's soft, wet mouth, like feeding. It sucked greedily. When he put the fingers with milk into its mouth, it sucked greedily. It was very hungry. When he withdrew them, it bleated frantically and buttered him, like babies do. He dipped his fingers again into the milk, and as the fawn sucked, in that way he was feeding the milk with his fingers. He lowered them slowly into the milk. The fawn blew and sucked and snorted. It stamped its small hoofs impatiently. As long as he held his fingers below the level of the milk, the fawn was content. It closed its eyes dreamily. So it was very happy by sucking the milk from the finger of Jody. It was ecstasy to feel its tongue against his hand. Ecstasy, too much happiness. Its small tail flicked back and forth. The last of the milk vanished in a swirl on foam and gurgling. So he was very, very happy. Jody was very, very happy that he was able to find out the baby deer and he was able to feed the baby deer. So, from this lesson, the writer Marjorie Kinnan Rowling wanted to say that we must love all the animals. Now, I think you all love dogs and cats. Like that here, a boy, Jody, went to forest all alone and brought the baby, carrying the baby deer, and he was happily feeding the baby deer. Okay, children, that's all. The lesson is over. After hearing this audio, open my PDF and take down the synonyms, antonyms. See you next week. All the best.